Please check it.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thank you for everyone in attendance. Thank you, Council. And I'd like to turn the opening over to Councillor Damian Penner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This previous Labor Day weekend always marks a turning point in people's lives. The leaves start to change colors, the evening air has a chill to it, and children, if not especially their parents, are excited to get back to school. This day also marks the first day 1 year ago that I, and many of you as well, began getting serious about our ground campaign for being on council. From the outside looking in, it's very easy to be cynical and think that the results of political elections are decided by a popularity contest. However, I would like to pull away the layers on that train of thought. Residents in Manitoba will be going to the polls twice in the next 2 months, electing a provincial and federal government. The current leaders, Brian Pallister and Justin Trudeau, offer two interesting trends on public opinion that need to be examined as a way of determining how we as individual councillors are going to govern. Let's take a look at Prime Minister Trudeau first. Justin Trudeau became the poster child of the Liberal Party of Canada, becoming the leader of the party in 2013 after a dismal party showing in the 2011 election. The Liberal Party was in disarray after being removed from either the governing or official opposition party for the first time in Canadian history. Justin Trudeau changed that with his popularity, and in 2015 commanded the Liberal Party all the way back to a majority government. Shortly after forming government in 2016, Trudeau's popularity was soaring at 64% nationally. Now, not everything has been roses for our Prime Minister. Between unresolved issues with Indigenous communities, the SNC-Lavalin scandal, and front-page trips to India and the Bahama Islands, these issues, according to advanced polling, have put the Grits and Tories in a statistical tie nationwide. This, despite Prime Minister Trudeau's exhaustive efforts at remaining popular. Justin Trudeau's popularity has plummeted from his impressive 64% just 3 years ago to now under half that at 31%. And by all accounts, this will be drastically reflected in the polls come October. Let's move on to Premier Pallister. Elected in 2016 after 16 years of a majority NDP government, Brian Pallister led the PC party to a record 40 of 57 seat majority. The party also received a record 53.2% of the total vote in the province, which is a truly staggering number. Now, Brian Pallister has also had his bumps along the way, with controversial healthcare reforms, confrontations with Manitoba's Crown corporations, Mayor Bowman, and of course the equally front-page Costa Rican vacations. However, advanced polling still places the PC party safely within a majority government come September 10th. Premier Pallister has held nothing back in saying that he has no intentions of trying to be popular, repeatedly saying politics is not a popularity contest, and admits people may not want to sit down with him and have a beer. His popularity ratings will show that he may not be the first pick to enjoy a beverage with. However, by all indications, said beer will still be enjoyed with the Premier come September 10th. Take this juxtaposition of these two leaders to heart. On one hand, we have a Prime Minister with some public image issues making great attempts to work on his public opinion. On the other hand, we have a Premier that makes no qualms about being unpopular and makes very little attempt to change that. Governing cannot be about making the popular choice. It needs to be about making the choice, the best choice for those that you represent. Study closely the information you are given, analyze it, review it again, and make an educated decision then at that point. This process is not always the most popular, and neither may some of our decisions, but we have to always keep the community as a whole in mind, not those that necessarily speak the loudest. As Premier Pallister has said, politicians who want to be popular today often create problems for people later. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and fellow council.
Thank you, Councillor Penner. Council, we have the agenda in front of us. I'd like a motion to adopt. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Swagstra. Any comments? Call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. We have the minutes of August 20, 2019 regular council meeting. They start on page 1. We've all had the opportunity to review them. Council looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Siemens. Okay, nothing, no comments seen. Call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, we will move on. There are no public hearings. There are No delegations. We'll move to 8A, reports and recommendations of city manager. A, request to close Cottonwood Bend Sidewalk. That starts on page 3 of your package. Mr. Workatine, could you please introduce this file?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and members of council, there is several pages in your agenda package starting on page 3 that outlines report from administration in response to a letter received from the Hanover School Division earlier this year. The request to close the sidewalk that runs between Mackenzie Avenue and Cottonwood Bend was filed again in spring by the Hanover School Division, or I should say in addition to other requests that have been received in the past. City administration has reported to council on this matter before, most recently in the summer of 2018. Again, similar requests lodged by several residents of the neighborhood. However, given the situation with the sidewalk and the public services that exists underground beneath it, and the fact that it is a public throughway, recommendation from administration remains that the sidewalk remain open and that the request of Hanover School Division be denied.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Workatine. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councilor Swagstra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with the administration recommendation. This is an item we've talked about in the past, and we know that there are challenges that have happened in that neighborhood. The problem, again, with closing the sidewalk is that, as the city manager noted, it's not as simple as that. There's an underground storm sewer that's right below that's part of this, that's part of the infrastructure here. So even if the concrete were to be removed, the pathway still needs to remain open. There's still drainage that needs to happen. And so all the challenges that would happen with a sidewalk are likely to happen if you still have an open pathway. In fact, it could become worse because then the area becomes even a little more secluded. And so the sidewalk is a pathway that people do use, and it's not all negative things that happen there. There are regular uses in terms of the sidewalk, but again, more importantly, it's just not as simple as closing it because there's infrastructure underneath that needs to be taken into account. So I think we have to stand by the recommendation.
Anything further, Council?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to administration or even the RCP advisory board. Just the question is, has RCP provided any further information or feedback, or perhaps to the advisory committee regarding this issue?
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We actually did talk about this at an RCP advisory meeting that we had last week, and the report from our staff sergeant is that he has heard very little about this in the last few months. So this has not come up in the last number of months as far as complaints to the RCP.
Also, Councilor Siemens, when it comes to SEPTED, they talk about no fencing, no closing. Leave it as open as possible so that there would be no fences committed. The more you close it off, the more likely you are to get offenses. So that's part of it. Okay, Council, then I would recommend that we take this as information and do nothing at this point. Okay, thank you. We'll go to 9A, Administration, Accounts Payable. That's in the back of the book. We've all had an opportunity to look it over. Looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Siemens, second by Councillor Bill Hebert. Any comments? Any further? Okay. Call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 9B, we have excavator license on page 7. Council, we're looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Penner. Any comments?
Still don't know why that comes in here, but whatever.
It's our favorite thing, these excavator licenses. I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, 9C, on page 8, appointing the Board of Revision. This year we would like to appoint the old crew from last time. That's Dwight Reimer, Jack Kaler, and Roy Entz to represent us on the Board of Revision. I'm just looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Bill Hebert, second by Councillor Susan Penner. Any comments?
None. Thank you.
Okay. Call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 9D, E, and F, we will, I'll ask Mr. Workington to introduce all these items. They're applying for grants for infrastructure renewal, and then we'll take care of each one individually from there. Mr. Workington, could you please introduce these three files?
Yes, of course. The Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program was recently announced that they will be accepting applications till about the beginning or end of September, depending on the type of project and the funding stream that municipalities or other government organizations will be applying for. Administration has reviewed the city's long-term capital plan and has identified at least 3 projects so far that we feel would be worthy projects to apply for funding. The first project would be the reconstruction of Kroeker Avenue Water, Wastewater, and Roadway. That would be a project that request for funding under the green infrastructure stream would be applied for with a request of $781,431. Second project that we're recommending is the reconstruction of the Loewen Boulevard, water, sewer, and roadway for the segment between PTH 12 and PTH 52, currently anticipated for construction in 2021 with a total grant request with total city funding being $750,761 of the total project cost of $2.8 million, with the balance coming from grant funds. And thirdly, Brandt Street Sewer and Water Reconstruction Project of approximately 1,000 meters, currently scheduled, anticipated for 2022, a total project cost of $5.2 million, of which 40% would be covered by federal funding and about a third being covered by provincial funding. Recommendation is for City Council to authorize resolutions for all 3 and in order for the city to submit these applications in time for the funding deadline of next week.
Thank you, Mr. Workington. Okay, Council, we'll start from the top. We'll take 9D, that is the Kroeker Avenue Water, Wastewater, and Roadway Reconstruction Project. A resolution to ask for the funding. That starts on page 9. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Swagstrom.
Move that we approve.
Move to approve. Do we have a second? Councillor Siemens? Go ahead, Councillor Swagstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. These are obviously big infrastructure projects, and specifically the first one here is dealing with Kroeker Avenue, which is 450 meters. That's from Main to 3rd, nearly $3 million total project cost. I think this shows that, again, the priority that we continue to put on basic infrastructure. This is road reconstruction and sewer and water underneath. I mean, these are older, Kroeker is certainly an older road that can certainly benefit from this renewal. And this is something which is part of our long-term capital plan, and it would certainly very much help our budgeting if we can get the necessary support for this.
Anything further? Anything further, Council? Anything in closing? As Council, these are important projects, and they've all been on our long-term capital plan. And now this Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program has been made available. I think it's very smart for us to apply for these grants. If you don't ask, you don't get. So I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Okay, that is carried. We will go now to 9E. Same Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program. This is on Brandt Street, Water and Wastewater Reconstruction Project. That starts on page 12. That's where our resolution is. Looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Jake Hebert, second by Councillor Bill Hebert. Go ahead, Councillor Hebert.
Just indicated by Councillor Schweitzer, these are important projects. Steinbach in the past has been very proactive in their infrastructure, and I think we're an example to the rest of the province, and I just see this as continuing our infrastructure program and making sure that the people of Steinbach are well served.
Anything further?
I would just affirm that we need to renew our infrastructure, and this is a good plan. That's what it,
Anything further from council? Anything closing? Council, I'm not going to comment on each one. It's going to get kind of repetitive, so I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. We'll go to 9F. Again, this is referring to the Loewen Boulevard Water, Wastewater, and Roadway Reconstruction Project. That resolution is on page 15. You can turn to that in your package with me. And council, looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Penner. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It's important that administration has earmarked these as potential grants. Anytime that we can renew our infrastructure at 30 cents, potentially 30 cents on the dollar, it would be most unwise not to pursue that.
Anything further? Anything in closing? I will call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Number 10, council question period.
I have a question. I should have probably brought it up, a question to administration, Mr. Mayor. I should have brought it up under 9A. But just wondering on page 3 of the expenses at the back of the book, we have City of Steinbach, and there's a number of items. I'm just wondering if those are incorporated somewhere else in our budget, or what specifically are those? And we start at the Art Center, we go to the bottom of the page and halfway through the next page.
Those items all represent mostly sewer and water bills that are charged for all facilities that the city owns. We do have to pay our bills to ourselves sometimes, but this is what that represents.
Mr. Mayor.
Good to know that we're paying our bills. On number 11, correspondence and petitions. There's nothing there. And number 12, other business. There's nothing under other business. So we will make a motion for adjournment. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Hebert. All those in favor? That is carried. I do want to just say that the next regular council meeting is Tuesday, September 17th, 2019 at 7:30. And sometimes, because I've got 2 Heberts, 2 Penners, and 2 Jakes on this council, it gets a little bit confusing sometimes. But anyways, thank you. It was a great meeting. It's adjourned.